Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Vodka Life Podcast, and our very first episode, hosted by Taco and myself. We're gonna go straight into it and let you guys know a little bit about ourselves. Firstly, my name is Peter. I'm 25, originally from Russia, moved to New Zealand when I was about 3 years old. Still living here in New Zealand. Not sure where I'll be in a couple years' time. Man, I love sharing ideas and my thoughts and feelings on a range of topics. Really want to talk about, my life, I guess, and mistakes that I made and advice that I could give to people that could potentially, benefit from in the future.
Yo, I'm your other host, Taco. That's pronounced like the Mexican food. I'm 24 years old, born and raised in New Zealand, where I'm currently living. I'm loving it here. I also have Cantonese roots, and here's a bit about me. I own a small business, I've completed a BCom degree at the University of Auckland, and I've also studied a diploma in quantity surveying. I'm passionate about business, faith, fitness, personal finance, investing, MMA, and boxing. I love helping others and seeing people succeed and all the different opportunities that they come across in life. And this podcast is an opportunity, I think, to share meaningful things that will help bring change to your life and help you grow. I hope you enjoy listening to our podcast.
I'll ask you the first question there, Taco. So, what we wanted to talk about, guys, is career and I guess life in general. My opening question here to you, Taco, would be: what's your thoughts on a career path in regards to passion versus salary?
That's a great question. I think that it's really difficult sometimes to find your passion and salary that matches potentially, and I think a lot of people struggle with that. Some people have great jobs that pay a lot, but their time is chewed up and they struggle with managing their week. They have long hours, they're stressed, they're tired, and then the rest of the time they might be trying to kind of work that out in their head, and they're partying or spending time doing things that actually don't benefit them, and they're trying to kind of get back to that passion potentially. In terms of what's your thoughts on the career path in regards to passion, I think that there are definitely jobs and opportunities out there, whether it's business or job, that matches our passion and salary interest. From, say, if you, for me, I value being active, and I value doing something that I see growth in. And currently working as a quantity surveyor, I would say that I'm passionate about the salary is not bad, but I am passionate about seeing things develop and grow in front of me, and having all sorts of different tasks that are engaging and seeing things happen. And that kind of meets, and I wouldn't say that works perfectly, but it's definitely a place where I'm thankful to be. And I think that tradesmen and other people like that like to be active, they like to do different things outside, that kind of matches their value and salary, because they don't get paid too poorly either. And there's definitely jobs and opportunities like that people can find in all sorts of different areas, whether that's academic, that's in health or law or anything like that. It's a matter of finding something that connects with your values and fitness. And it's actually cool to hear people that have changed their career or jumped from one thing to another in order to find something that matches their values and potentially a better salary from where they studied something for 3 years or an extended period of time, because it takes a lot of courage and boldness to jump into that. But I'm kind of shifting off the question, so we'll move it on from there.
No, I think you answered pretty well. Just for clarification there as well, what's a quantity surveyor like? Or can you?
A quantity surveyor is someone who deals with the financial management of construction projects. So that can be at all sort of levels and different areas of construction.
Okay, cool. Yeah, nice. And I guess you can flip me a question.
I've got a question for you, Peter, and it's career related. Why do you think people find it hard to find a career that matches their values?
Okay. I guess it really depends on what kind of values people have, and so it's actually quite broad, to be honest. However, why they struggle is because I think it comes back to passion, right? So what you value or what is important to you is something that you'll be passionate about. So I think what people struggle the most is finding a job that they're passionate about, but they can also, provide for themselves or provide for their family and make a decent living out of it. So why I feel like they struggle with that is because I don't know. It takes a lot of hard work and it's very difficult to get into a job where you can find it meets all your values. And it's pretty easy to get it, like, any job that's available, or suddenly a job reviews your resume or CV, and you get there and you become comfortable for salary. You can get kind of stuck. And I think it comes down to be honest, this may sound kind of, how do I explain this? I don't know how to explain it, but I think it does come down to hard work. If you really, really want to put in all the hard work possible, completely put your mindset onto that one thing that provides that passion for you, gives you all those values in your job, then you will be able to get that. But if you don't put in that hard work, then it's easier, I guess you could say, to get a job that doesn't have those values, but you can still get income on. Did I answer the question there?
Yeah, you did. All good points. I got another question for you here, and that's, what is the most life-changing habit that you've established in your life that you think others could benefit from too?
Okay, right. Considering I'm not yet successful, it's hard to answer that with...
Can be the most basic habit.
Being credible in that. Okay. I think definitely the biggest habit I think any person can benefit with, and it's been proven as well, is to write down your goals. Because if you write down your goals, then you start thinking about them more. And when it's been written down, you start looking at ways to achieve them more than if it's in your mind or in the back of your mind, or it's something that you might get around to if you have time, or once you have a bit more feelings, free time available, that kind of way. I feel like if you've written them down, then you would go into more. And so I think that's the biggest habit, I think, is writing down what I want to do, what I want to achieve. That definitely makes me focused onto that pathway, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. Yep. So I guess I'll bring it back to you, and in that question then, Taco, what is one of the biggest habits that you found that has been helping you out at the moment?
The biggest habit I think that has helped me is just having certain things that you do consistently, a routine. And for me, recently, it's been fitness and training, but also doing 75 hard. I'm not just establishing one habit. For those of you who don't know what 75 hard, it's a challenge that has been put forward by the MFCO Project Podcast, Andy Frisella, where you complete a series of tasks, and those include drinking 2 gallons of water, which is 4 liters. If you're with the metric system, that's reading 10 pages of a personal development book, 2 workouts. One of them has to be outdoors, just because the conditions outside always change and they're not perfect, and it's building that mental understanding. And then also taking a progress picture, sticking to a diet, no drinking alcohol, and those are the things. And all of those have really helped me to establish consistency and understanding of how habits work. I'm 47 days deep in that challenge now, and all of these things, though it's taken time away from things I might want to do with my time, just building that consistency has really been actually very impactful. And I'd recommend you guys to check out episode 247 of the MFCO Project Podcast and think about doing that challenge, because it really has changed the game for me in so many ways. Just drinking water, I think, has helped me to feel fresher and actually be healthier. I would say I'm fairly healthy compared to the average person in general, but that has helped me alone, let alone the reading and all these other things. It's been incredible. I think it's a matter of actually not establishing habits, is great, but establishing a routine, consistently working towards things, in multiple areas, is a habit that I would encourage, because it allows you to build something, and you can see, across 47 days, I've seen the different things that have come about, the progression, even in the photos, but also mentally and physically, which has been incredible. So that's what I'd say I'd encourage people to establish.
I think that's lovely, to be honest. You actually encouraged me to take that on.
Yeah, you should do it, Peter.
I'll give it a try. I already drink a lot of water, trust me.
Yeah.
Probably 80% of the water I drink is from tea. Yeah. I drink a lot of tea in my mornings. I've got a big cup of me right next to me, as you can see. Why is it called 75 hard? Is it for 75 days? Or?
Yeah. So it's 75 days is the reason why it's called 75 hard.
Right.
That's
Okay. I see.
onto it.
And it's the same habits for everyone else. The water training
Yeah.
and everything, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you check out that podcast episode 247, the MFCO project, you'll be able to hear all about it and understand it better if you're interested. I highly recommend it, and I genuinely think it's incredible. And I don't anything I recommend in this podcast, whether it's in this episode or in the future, I only recommend things that are highly impactful, that I've gained real value from personally, that I think will be of value, because people can be willy-nilly with recommendations and just throwing things out there, and that's not my style. And I hope you guys can grab a hold of some good things that I recommend if you guys wish to.
Right. Okay, I see. That's lovely. And I think, when it comes down to it, with all routine, consistency is the best thing, right? It kind of brings back the point that I made before about writing down your goals or anything, because it makes you more conscious about it. And when you are more conscious about it, whether it's a challenge or whether it's your own reminder, keeping to it and sticking to something and actually making it into a routine is the most fundamental thing. And I think it's easy to get into a routine that's easy, right? For example, like you're having a mince and cheese pie in the morning, as opposed to making a more healthy breakfast, right? Because mince and cheese pie, you go down to the bakery, it's on the way to work, you buy it, done, right? That's all good and fine, in moderation, but when it becomes a routine is when it becomes problematic, because it's easy, right? So sticking to a hard routine, it's always going to be difficult, but I think I guess it just does come back to that hard work effort, right? When you really put your mind to it. And yeah.
There's a question I've got for you career-wise that just popped into my mind is, how do you know that you are worthy of a pay rise, and why do you think that people should potentially not be just comfortable and settled in where they're at?
Okay. Interesting. No, that's a fantastic question. I think it's applicable especially to a job where it gives you pay rises, right? Or has the opportunity for you to actually step up. I think the fundamental thing would be when you look at your coworkers, if you're the one putting in more effort, if you're the one coming early, if you're the one leaving late, if you're putting in extra hours or trying to become more efficient in the job, helping others as well, and if you're still making the same pay, I think that's where you would want to evaluate and really talk to your boss. I think being open is the most important thing about any job, is that you should be open to your superiors, right? Engage with them and let them know. Let them know if something's not working out, or if you're putting in a lot of extra effort, whether you'll be eligible for a pay rise, or you think that you should have a pay rise because of how much work you're doing or helping the business grow. Yeah.
What would you say for someone who is, quite shy, and they genuinely aren't the most confident, and they need to, they need to step it up and to tell themselves that, you deserve this and you need to go and get it? Because obviously not many employers run around thinking, I'm just going to give this guy free money for, no reason. You've got to, you say, assert yourself. So how do you think people can do that?
Yeah. I wrote it down and quite say that, but absolutely, Taco, I love how you mentioned that question, because I've talked to a lot of friends and I've gave this advice. No boss out there will be walking around looking to give people pay rises, right? It's a cost for them. It's more expensive. If you're doing the same job, if you're working really hard without getting a pay rise, why would the boss give you a pay rise? Unless it's out of general goodwill, right? And that does happen. However, not every boss is like that. And it comes down to, if you're a shy person, there's only one way to go about that, and is to learn to be more assertive. Because if you are shy, you will be taken advantage of. And that's the reality behind it. If you don't step up, if you don't learn, and this is not something that, okay, I'm an introverted person, I'm an extroverted person, you can learn to be assertive. You can learn,
I agree.
Whether it's even writing an email or approaching in another way, if that's easier for you. I would recommend face-to-face. But it's something that if you think you are eligible for a pay rise, you have to be assertive and make that happen. Otherwise, more or less, you're not eligible for that pay rise. as blunt as that could be. Like, yes, you're doing the hard work. Yes, you're, putting in more effort. But if you're not getting the recognition you deserve, you should be, I guess, talking to your boss about that. And if you're not, then the mistake comes onto you. And that's a kind of harsh way to look at it, I think.
Yeah.
Right. How about you? What do you think about that?
What do I think about in terms of?
Yeah, I guess let's do a final thought on that. If someone is a shy person, or if someone thinks they should have a pay rise, how do you think they should go about that?
So I'll probably run this a little bit different.
Okay.
Is actually you need to build confidence in yourself in general, because that confidence is the confidence that will transfer to every single area of your life, including when you are going to ask for a pay rise. You need to do things that are outside of your comfort zone and are difficult for you to do in order for you to build courage and confidence in all areas. We don't want to, well, for me personally at least, I think it's all well and good to amp yourself up and be able to do something well and be confident and bold in a certain moment, but confidence that is built across your whole life as a foundation is something that you can use in every single area of life, which has a huge impact, I think.
Yeah.
And, one basic thing I'd say, to be honest, this is really basic, and I just enjoy doing this for the fun of it, but it can be really helpful if you haven't done this before, is when you're walking on the street and you see someone, just say hi to them. When you're in a situation where you can strike up a conversation with a complete stranger in an elevator, you're just walking past, I encourage you to do it. And I'll give you a tip for this, because it can be really difficult when you're not quite sure if the person is interested in talking to you or what sort of situation it is. If you are walking and you see someone, they kind of smile at you, they show you a little bit of, time of day, just a little glance even. Those are sometimes opportunities where you can talk to someone. Say, the other day I was at the pools, there was someone who came in to the sauna, and I held the door open for him because he actually had a bit of an injury, a shortened leg and so on. But he, expressed gratitude, thanks for, opening the door, and then kind of gave me some time of day. And I realized, there was an entry to open a conversation and talk to him. And just building that sort of confidence, talking to strangers, I think can really help you in all sorts of areas of life. And honestly, in New Zealand, we have such a small degree of separation. You don't know who you're going to meet and what opportunity you could open up by simply talking to a stranger.
I agree,
having a conversation, asking them something basic. It's always good if you have that in mind, where you want to explore opportunities and connect with people, is to ask them, what do you do? They could be a business owner, they could be a high level senior manager, and they could open up all sorts of doors. And even if someone isn't in a senior position or someone in a role that might be able to open up doors, even talking to students or other people, you never know what kind of ideas and things they're working on that might resonate with what you're doing. You guys can have an awesome conversation. You actually won't lose a single thing. Even if you get rejected and someone doesn't really want to talk to you and they don't give you any time of day, the fact that you had the courage to go speak to that person and start that potential conversation has already given you some value.
Yep.
So honestly, when you do this, it's a win-win-win. Motherfucking win all day.
I love that, man. I love that, and that brought me back to when I lived 2 years in Korea. Not many people spoke English, right? Especially where I lived, so it was very hard to have interactions with people. I spoke a little bit of Korean. I would have these brief conversations, but I couldn't really open up a conversation. And so it was only until I returned to New Zealand where I could really, communicate with every person. And so I went to the bank. I'm just waiting for the bank lady to get my card loaded up into the system, everything. I'm just like, so how was your day today? And that opened up a whole conversation, and we had a little chat. It was fun. It was interesting. It made me feel better. Made her feel better. And this is something I couldn't do in Korea because of that language barrier. But if you're still living in an English-speaking country and that's your first language or your native language, definitely open up conversations, because it's so interesting. And especially like you were saying, if you're a shy person, small amounts of practice, small day-to-day interactions will help ramp up your confidence, especially when it comes up to talking to your boss, which is not easy, right? I don't take that away. You have to be assertive. I get that, but it's hard. It's a very big confrontation. It can be very intimidating, especially most bosses, I guess, can be really hard to speak to, especially on that kind of topic. And so a good way, like Taco said there, is to, say hi to other individuals walking across. I think a really very easy way to start that as well is when you talk to a cashier, when you're buying something at the convenience store or whatever. Just say, yeah, how was your day? And they can say good. And you'll be like, oh, great, glad to hear that. Okay, bye, see ya, done.
Yeah.
It's brief, it's small talk, but that will give you that practice to start that, oh, how was your day? Or how are you? Or how are you feeling?
Yeah.
And then you can build that up to, approaching a random person and actually having a great conversation with Park or something. Absolutely, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. Bringing it back to talking to your boss, I think something that is important and I've found has been beneficial is, hopefully you like your boss and they kind of like you. I mean, you can't, that isn't always the situation. If you're not in that position, you can work towards that. But connect with your boss. There's moments throughout the day when you're working and your boss or your immediate manager, not all companies are small businesses where you actually talk to the company owner all the time. But have just genuine conversations with them. You'll start to realize and pick up on what your boss is interested in. They might be interested in fishing, they might enjoy this or that, and just ask them about things that they love, because people love to talk about things that they love. It's basic, it's simple, and that applies also to those conversations with strangers. Ask someone, what have you been doing this week? What are your interests? And delve deeper into them, because the other awesome thing about talking to people about their interests is they usually have high level insight and understanding about their interest, and they can share with you some really cool advice and info that you would find difficult to find anywhere else, which is always good.
Absolutely. Something I learned from this sales job that I've been doing for the last 3 months, soon to be leaving there as well, but finding a common ground and building rapport is really important into any relationship. Not only if you're interested in their interests or not, it's just to open up the conversation and really get that relationship going, where you can both talk about what kind of things you guys enjoy, and it creates this I guess it loosens the tension between the two parties, right? Especially if you're a boss, you don't talk to them often, or your team manager. If you just guys talk, everyone's a human being, right? Everyone has interests, everyone has these things, and talking about interest is a great way to open up a relationship as well, but also find the common ground. Maybe you guys both enjoy rock climbing, for example, or you both enjoy, drinking a certain type of wine. You know what I mean? There's always that common ground where you can spark this little connection, and that can really build a huge relationship. And when it comes to someone like your boss, when it comes to that time that you have to talk about your salary or whatever it is, it's going to be a lot more easier to come across that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that comfort factor that I think is important, because they'll also be more interested in giving you a pay rise if they like you and respect you as a person, I think that can help. Obviously, the value in your role is most important first and foremost, but having those other aspects definitely helps get you across the line. Something I just thought about from what you were talking about, Peter, is actually networking. People talk about, networking all the time, and they talk about making connections, this and that, whether it's business and work, in the industry, whatever. And I think there's a lot of BS. People talk about going to these events and this and that, and it's about trading cards and all this random stuff. But really, the most important thing to networking is like meeting a stranger, like I was talking about. It's actually just being interested in them as an individual, first and foremost, like any friendship, and connecting like a normal interaction. And if you guys both gel, you guys both have mutual interests, and you share some similar ideas and thoughts, or even ideas that are completely contrasting, but you're both interested in exploring, then you can develop that relationship, a connection, and it will breed into a real friendship, first of all, which is what you want, and then also into opportunities where you can do business together. I was listening to a podcast recently, the MFCO project actually, and he was talking about how, business at the highest level, even in Hollywood, isn't about these crazy formal contract meetings. Yes, those things are important, but sometimes it's literally when, they go to the bar after and they're having a chat and someone is saying, oh, I've got this script idea that I think is real cool. The other guy likes the idea, and then he says, I'll send it to you via email next week. And they literally connect, and that opens up a door just based on a normal, regular social interaction, which is what real connection and networking is in my mind.
Absolutely, man. And I also learned from this the sales job as well. Is like a relationship is what is a relationship first and foremost, right? If you had to define it, what they came across as a relationship is someone will be willing to do something for you that they won't do for something else, and that's, I guess, a fundamental what a really relationship is between two parties. And like a little example I have there with my university, actually, I'm not gonna say call out any names, but I made really good friends with my university lecturer. Going to the like office hours and really building a connection purely because I was interested in finding out more and I was a little bit confused. I wanted some help. I kind of knew when my lecturer graded my like essay. I felt like he gave me a little bit of extra brownie points purely because we had some sort of relationship.
Yeah.
Like I know in uni it's supposed to be objective and that what I mean. That's why I'm keeping it down low. But I feel like. This is an assumption as well.
Some shady stuff going on.
But I mean, it's hard because we're not robots, right? Like if you're marketing someone who it's impossible not to have some sort of influence, even if it's slight, right? If you just like the person, you're gonna give them a little bit of extra points there, or be less harsh to their grading to someone that you, I guess, don't particularly like as much. Yeah. So basically saying, always build relationships with people all around you, and it's only going to give you positive outcomes in return. Yeah. So I mean, this is getting up to 26 minutes. Let's definitely wrap it up here, Taco. In terms of, I don't know. I mean, do you have any final questions? I don't really have too many final questions at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I think something that I definitely want to say to anyone listening to this podcast, whether it's day, night, whatever, I hope you're having an awesome time and incredible week.
Yeah.
And, thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this podcast. This is the beginning and we're going to explore and go further in all sorts of ways. And, thank you very, very much for listening. And I encourage you to make some changes in your life because honestly, one of the reasons that I'm most interested in making this podcast is to be able to share ideas and thoughts that will bring about real change. You can listen to 100 podcasts, but really, the goal in my mind would be for you not to need to listen to this podcast, Peter and I's podcast, or any podcast, to be able to do your own thing and be able to share ideas and go forth in whatever you're doing, because we're in a generation and time where content consumption and being entertained and learning things is so sexy and seems like a good idea all the time. But you know what? We sometimes, I think, underestimate the value of what we already have inside us and what we already know, and we don't do anything about because we think we need to analyze more, we need to do more and go forth. And I think something that's been incredible that we've actually practiced, as Peter and I decided, we're going to record. And actually, this is the first take and we've just decided to go for it. And, there's nothing like starting, and we want to, be true to every single thing we share. And that's exactly why we've just gone for it. Feel free to wrap it up, Peter.
Yeah, bro, I love that. And it actually brings back to what we talked about, that finding that common ground, finding that interest. I mean, we just had a catch up, right? We had both a common interest about starting a podcast or doing something like this, really helping and benefiting our people. And there you go. This is literally the product of what we were just talking about before. And, there's a lot of topics that we can discuss. And we definitely want to, scratch the surface on all these different types of topics. Especially for you guys as well. Definitely give us some advice on what we can improve on, make this a little bit more interesting for you guys. Right, that's kind of all I wanted to say. I mean, this has been a work in progress. It's been a little project of us, and I hope you guys enjoyed it because, like Taco said, it's not only like entertainment, but we want to have people benefit from this and enjoy it and benefit from it. And yeah,
more to come, guys, so look out for that. Have an awesome time doing whatever you're doing. Stay blessed.
Yeah, let's go. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Peace out, and see you guys all in the next one.
See ya.